Well, I'm back again with a brand new episode of the Totally Indian Football Show, and I must say I'm very much excited to do these back-to-back episodes. The last one, no, I did not plan this to go it, the way it is going out. The last one we had Gormangi on the show, who's from Manipur, and this one also, the gentleman is from the northeastern region, but he's from Shillong and Meghalaya. And Arki Nongrum is my guest on the podcast, and you all are listening to the Totally Indian Football Show. And I'm your host, Siju. Arki, welcome to the show.
Hi, Siju. Well, thanks for having me. Yep.
Yeah, I think being an organizer, you've got used to saying welcome to everyone.
Yeah. Usually that's how it starts.
Yeah,
So,
no problem, no worries. I also want to say to tell our listeners, yes, this is it's such a happy thing and such a joyous moment because so often meet my guests on several other occasions with other job projects, and it's so glad to know what they keep. I mean, to get an update of what they are doing in the different situations in their life or different time periods, and then if it's connected to Indian football, I can always get them on the show. So that's how even Arki is on the show today. I know him again from through the association with AIFC, as he was also part of one of the courses. I think grassroots instructor refresher course, right? That was where we met. And yeah, it's been a long time. There's a lot that's happened with you personally, professionally. So let's get to know all about that, Arki. Just to tell our listeners, he's been associated with Indian football for a very long time. He was part of the Meghalaya Football Association as a CEO before. And he's also been part of the Rangdajai United. It's one of the well-known clubs from that part of the region. And a lot of other things. So today, the most exciting project that I'm going to talk about with Arki, and he's going to share some more things about it, is have you ever thought of farmers playing football, or what has football got to do with farmers? Well, this is the episode for you then. Arki, we know you've been part of Indian football. We know you've been part of the ecosystem and stuff. But if you can take us through, maybe in a brief, if you can tell us about any listeners listening to you for the first time, of your involvement with Indian football. How has it been so far?
Yep. So I started my stint with Indian football in 2010, I think so. That was just straight after graduation. I actually started way back in football. I started my own academy way in 2007 or something. I was doing my graduation in Pune, and I decided to start a football academy for Youth United. Basically to get out, to give youths an opportunity to play and to showcase the skill. I was still doing my final semester then. Then after that, I just realized then this was something that I really wanted to do. And with obviously the love for Indian football, then I obviously, like you said, I got an opportunity to work with Rangdajai United. That was where I did a lot of grassroots project as well as in the I League. Then had an opportunity to work with Varun Achrija and his football solutions, working with Aizawl FC. I was very integral to helping them getting into the I League the year which they won. Then as time went on with Rangdajai, then also helped out with a lot of other clubs here in Shillong in the Northeast. Then I started a project called Touchline Northeast, which is an academy, a grassroots sports school. Basically, it's not just football, but it had all sports. It's a sports school. And then in 2017, the Meghalaya Football Association offered me to take over as the CEO, which I did. It's still an ongoing project, though I don't hold that post as CEO anymore because of other professional commitments. But still doing work for them, still developing. We are coming up with the baby league, which we did. And now we're coming up with the Meghalaya youth leagues. We've launched the Meghalaya amateur league, which is, I think, so one of the longest league in India. We have about 38 games, 20 teams. 38 games playing per match. Per team is playing about 38 games. It's a 1 year long season. Then we'll be launching Veterans League. So a lot of things happening in Meghalaya. Then I was lucky enough to meet Anju one fine day when I was doing my e-license grassroots leaders course. That was a long time ago. She saw potential in me and invited me to be part of the grassroots instructors, which I gladly join. And from then on forth, I've just been helping AIFF with developing the e-license grassroots curriculum for e-license, then trying to give whatever inputs I can to developing Indian football as much as I can. Especially my focus is on grassroots and youth. So yeah, that's much. That's about me. Though even I did my sports management. I was in Pune for the longest time. I was in Bombay as well. So yep, traveled a lot for football as well. So that's about me.
Right. Now, since you mentioned you spent a lot of time in Pune, let me just dig on that for a bit. For someone from Shillong, from a hotbed football state, going to Pune, and we've seen the history of Pune in terms of Indian football, how clubs have come and gone. So, how did you take that? There's that current shift in the city or state, and then to see kind of a droughtness of the beautiful game that you so fondly enjoyed back in your state, and how do you see that, what according to you probably are the problems, or how it can be better going ahead for Pune?
Actually, Siju, when I was in Pune, I was very much into the football. I mean, I was playing for a team called Giants when I was doing my graduation, and I feel that the love for football in the country is it's there. It's very, it's very vibrant everywhere. It's as vibrant as our culture. But however, it's just that. In the Northeast, it's just that we love this game to a different level. And based on the fact that we don't have others, we do have other sports, but football has just been embedded into us. But we do play a lot of other sports as well. But Pune, for that matter, when I was there, I mean, I remember every single evening we would go to Wadia College and play football, and we have plenty of other people playing football. And I remembered when I was in Symbiosis then, I remembered playing for the university team, and I met Vivek Nagul, the coach. So I met him, and he introduced me to his club, which was and the players that I met are amazing. I mean, they're really good players, and it's not a problem. I would say that Pune is just that the lack of then when I was there, then football was not as popular, as how do I say, as trendy as it is right now. So why people have picked up all everywhere, it's like it's become, football has just become something else right now. So then when I was playing, it was still there, people still love the sport. I remember going to Bombay once upon a time with a friend of mine who was teaching in Teach for India, and she had invited me over to teach football to a few students of hers, and the kids loved it, from girls to boys. So I don't believe there's a problem then. It was just more of a fact where football was not, the popularity of football was, it isn't as much as it is right now.
Okay, so that was enough for Pune. Since just because you mentioned about Pune, I thought I'll just ask that because
Yeah.
we yeah, because we also have we actually have a gentleman who probably who explains a little more about Pune football and how he's helping Tanay,
Yeah.
trying to do a lot more, get the city more buzzing about football. So you can check that out on our podcast. But this is about what Arki is doing in Shillong. Like I mentioned, now that you know a brief about, for those who you didn't know who he is and what he does or what he has done in the past, you've got an idea of that. Now let's get into what he's doing right now, and that's the most interesting part. um, Farmers playing football. How did that thought even occur to you, Arki?
It was so this was a very funny story actually. So I always had this notion that I would um, bring in a nice symbiosis between sports, education, and agriculture somehow or the other. And with my stint with the Meghalaya Football Association and my travel around Manipur through my coach educators course, when teaching, even when I went to West Bengal, always saw that majority of our talent came from the villages, from the rural areas. And most of them were farmers, or the after the season is over, especially in Meghalaya or in the northeastern states, they head back to their home, to their villages, where it's right back to farming. So I always knew that we had to do something for them. And at the same time, also, um, while this thought was in place, I was thinking of how to do that. Then I met this lovely gentleman by the name of, he's a major actually. His name is Ajit. We call him Major Ajit. And he was a major in the Indian army. He was in the Kargil war and everything, amazing person. and another friend of mine by the name of Kit. This guy, Kit is, I don't know if you've heard of the band Somersault. They were the one who played in Rock On 2. So Kit and Major came up to me one day and they said that we have this idea of how, we want to do something for the farmers out here, because the Major was doing some project with the farmers in Meghalaya. So then conversation over, a nice sit down and having, it was a hot day, having a nice chilled beer in that day, and ideas just flowed. And a friend of mine, Vinit Basu, who helped me develop the baby league as well, as we were talking, first it was just supposed to be a one-off tournament. Then we realized, no. I told them, like, see, if we have to do these things, we have to do it in a way where farmers are actually benefiting in the long term. So in that way, we just kept on discussing, and then we found out that yes, talent is there, but other than the talent, what are the things that these farmers need? So as we were discussing and brainstorming over these things, we said let's just give them an opportunity, because football is, like we said, it's a universal language, right? So let's just allow them to play football, and we'll allow everything else to just evolve around it. Then what happened is that so much talent was unearthed on that day. At the same time, we were, instead of doing, like, how you guys did, the unique thing what we used to do in football is that we exchanged pennants, right, the flags. What we were doing is that we were telling the farmers to bring, so farmers from all over Meghalaya would come in to play for this tournament. We had invited them from all over districts of Meghalaya. We asked them to bring, seats, indigenous seats, which is very rare to their district. So instead of exchanging pennants, they were exchanging seeds. So what happened was these farmers were having fun. At the same time, they were showing the skills, and we were like, the process is to get them a scholarship, to get these farmers, the really talented ones with a bright future, to get them scholarships for into an academy or something like that. And yeah, so that's how the idea came about. We were like, these guys discussed about having just a one-day or small tournament. And then, however, I came in with Vinit and we developed this into becoming something else, which now has become very, very big. Yeah. So that's how we decided to just give farmers an opportunity to enjoy themselves, while as they were playing and enjoying themselves, we were actually finding for the next talent from there as well.
That, and what are their age groups like, the ones who are playing?
Okay, so it was an open tournament. So the farmers, we just allowed them. So there was a kid at the age of 17 years old, and there was a guy who was nearly 50 years old, but brilliant footballer. So it was a mixed age group. There was no such thing as an under 17. It was in one, because it was just a pilot project to see how the thing went. So it was an open to all. The farmers just had to form within their own communities. So, and that's how we got, like, we got a variety of age, a variety of footballers from the variety of age groups.
Right. Now, and how do you see packaging it for the older guys? Because for the younger ones, yes, you can probably still mention, like you mentioned, that the scholarship to help them get into an academy and probably progress from there, even pursuing their footballing dreams as being a farmer as well. But how do you see the contribution that you will probably provide the older guys with, who are equally talented? So how do you go about that?
So basically, what we actually saw this, we actually discussed about this, and so we thought that for the older guys, we were planning to do coach education, like workshops for on how to become a coach, so that they can pass on their talent to the younger generations, because we can only do these programs, we can't do these programs nearly each and every single day or every weekend. Whereas the legacy for the older farmers would be that they would get a workshop on coach education, and, like, at least an e-license or grassroots course, which I would take, and then teaching them the basics of how to train younger children, right? So they would go back to their villages, and and then start and then teach during the free time, when they're done sowing the fields or plowing the fields, and in the evenings or in the mornings, which they get up very early, they could, aram say, just have a nice practice session with all these young talents, and then they can always connect. So basically what was happening was that there was a communication link that was happening between the farmers and us, telling, like, that this is there, this is what we need. So football opened the gateway, not just for football activities, but at the same time it opened the gateway for so many other things. So that's what we wanted to do with the farmers, especially with the older ones, that we wanted them to go through a referees education program or maybe a coach education program, or just have workshops with them in general on how they can use football to develop the society.
Right. Now, all of this, like as I was listening and trying to process every bit, beautiful thing to do. Really, absolutely. I mean, I'm even looking forward. My trip to Shillong is anyway pending. This just adds, gives me more reasons to come. But again, when I look at it, yes, it looks like the farmers contributing towards the beautiful game. Okay, in a way. But how do you want to see or try and make sure that football is through football they're also getting something, because at the end of the day they are farmers and they go back to doing what they do, that's agriculture. And you mentioned a point that you somewhere wanted, this whole thing started with, you had something in back of your mind of getting sports education and agriculture and somewhere to go along with that. So how do you see that being processed out here?
So that's what I'm actually. There's a project that I'm actually doing right now. So the Farmers World Cup is between a few friends, right? So the Farmers World Cup again was just a pilot, and it's taken off really well. And we are planning to do more things. But when it comes to my exposure in sports, my exposure in education, because I did teach, that's one of my passion as well, is to teach in schools. And then lastly is agri, which I've again, it's like something that I'm working on. I have my own farm. So and it just so happened that in my farm, I have a football field just next to it. All right, just spot on next to it, a beautiful football field. So what I'm doing is that in my farm, I'm setting up a training center, and through this training center, I'm trying to get the farmers to come, learn how to, to plow, to use modern, what are the commercial values, how to market these things, blah blah blah, and all those other things. Then from there, they get we're doing free education for the children from the training center. Then finally, this whole system moves on to the field where these kids who've come in and then they've done the tuition, but in the evening they come and play, or in the morning they come and practice with us. And through this practice, what are my really my main thing of having sports in this is that obviously football can teach them so many things, discipline, or exposure and all these things. And we will be having friendly matches. I was planning to have friendly matches, invite a Shillong Lajong to play with them with his farmers team, and then they would identify talent. But more than that is that to identify a player which has the best potential to move on, like a baby league player, maybe by the age of 11, 10, whatever it is, and then to identify that player and to start a scholarship for that person, so that that player would actually get to come to Shillong, let's just say for instance, and play with a Ranglajit and train with a Ranglajit United or train with a Shillong Lajong, have one of the best education, have a good education background as he's doing here. So that's what I wanted football to do for that kid. Come here, develop yourself. You've been identified through this program of, your parents have come in to do a training in agriculture with us, and then you've come in for tuition in the evening. But through our practice with the sports, we identified you, and then from there we're bringing you here to Shillong. And then if not Shillong also, but Shillong was the closest thing at this moment. And then train with the best players, train with the best teams, expose yourself to what, because a farmer has a lot of I wouldn't say a lot of hindrances to their development, especially a child, because they have to do so many things other than just study. They have to look after the cows, plow, blah blah blah, and all those things. So if they come here, they can focus on just playing, at the same time be exposed to education, which is good. So that's what I was hoping that football would do. It's not just football, also other sports, but focusly on football.
Right. And with all this going on, and like you said, it has been, like want to start off as a 1 day thing, but it's become explode and become a big whole tournament. How has the response from these farmers been like?
Oh, the response was just brilliant. Like we now, first we started in this district called Ribohoi district, which we did the Farmers World Cup, the first edition. Um, Immediately after that, we had, so the army, the army actually contributed a lot to the success of that event. They provided us with all the logistics help that had to be done to organize such a big thing. But the best thing about for the farmers is that they like they showcased the skills, and then they went back and they were telling their friends and all these things, and they were sharing stories. But now what has happened is that more districts have raised up their hands saying why farmers have called us up and saying, can you start a very similar thing for us out here? And some people are just calling us and saying, like calling me and telling me, can you just come and start an academy with us just for our kids, just to show us how we can train our kids, like so this is what the Farmers World Cup has actually opened the gateway to, like and so many people have asked us, is it just going to be just football? And for us, it's not just football. We wanted to do so many other things around the farmers. Actually, the Farmers World Cup is actually Farmers World, like the Farmers World, developing their world. All right. So when we, like, so many things opened up for nearly all these farmers, and then there was, I think so, IKEA Foundation had approach major that they want to provide some help for these farmers. The Farmers Commission came up to us and actually told us, okay, we would love to do training for these farmers. Then I remember there's a project which the farmers get schemes from the government, called the Focus program of the government of Meghalaya. They came in and they said, we want to be a part of this project. So what's happened is that through football, basically in the middle of nowhere, one of the most beautiful grounds I've seen, but it's not one of the best grounds, but still one of very beautiful grounds. And these farmers don't care where they play. One of the farmers came barefoot, so we had to get him a football, a boot to play. So, but then what happened is that it opened so many doors for them, so many doors, and it was just not in line with football. It opened them doors to people recognizing them and telling them how can we help them. And like it is scholarship program which we're trying to initiate again. All these things just like it just rolled over, like it just kept rolling and rolling, and now we're just trying to structure this whole thing before we push it forward once again. So yeah, that's how it's open and that's how it's expanded.
Right. And how has your experience been? I mean, given the fact that there was something like this back of your mind, and then your, people who you knew and coming together and bouncing off that idea, and now you see it happening. For you personally, how do you feel about
It's
this?
just one of the most amazing experience. I mean, like you've heard earlier, I've worked with Rang Bajit, I've worked with elite academies, right? I've worked with Shillong Lajong, I worked with the Meghalaya Football Association, started a baby league, gave privileges, to players from anywhere to just come and play, and saw how they develop. But seeing this was a different experience altogether. To see, like farmers who, like getting on the ground, getting on that football ground. I for one is I am still playing football. The moment you get on the ground, like you just have a different sense, a different joy altogether, right? So when I saw these farmers and how they forget all their hardships, how they forget, all the things that they have to go back to, and all those things just based on just playing football. At the end of the day, still laughing, whether win or lose, just laughing and giving high five. And you know what was the best thing? They were exchanging farming ideas with one another. Like, like they didn't care. Like, football was just something for them, which, yes, during the game, they were full on intensity, full on competitiveness. But immediately after the game, they just had a good fun. And that's what I wanted to see. And that's the joy of football. I mean, I still am looking forward to being, like, finishing till my pro license, coach, or maybe my A license, my B license. B, I should complete this year and finish all those things. But I'll always look forward to seeing how this beautiful game can, you know, there's so many coaches out there who are doing for elite players. You know what I mean? So now I feel like this is, for me, my calling in football is to, like, not just scout, because I do feel that I can do proper coaching. I mean, I'm still coaching a football club out here, and I'm still interning with one of the best coaches in Meghalaya. So, that I can do. I feel like that is just more of a competition based coaching, all right? But to find talent, to give a pathway for that talent. Like let's take for Messi, for instance, how he was found, yeah. Like, through a baby league, sign on a paper, sign on a napkin paper, and now, like, that's a story, like, I would love to contribute to.
Yeah. Now, just coming back to the game that happens right between the farmers, the teams that the farmers play, and you mentioned one of the things that you said is that instead of exchanging the pennants, they exchange seeds. Now, something like that, if you can tell us how a match is played, because and how different it is from a traditional football game, and this is the most unique thing. There are farmers playing, so I did see some of the photographs. The trophies had some kind of
Yeah.
farm elements to that as well. So if you can just probably describe from the start for our listeners, it would be an amazing one to give a very it could be a visual treat for us if through the words that if you could stay with regards from the start, right, with the team entering the pitch to how they come in and then they play and what happens post it and halftime what happens, if you can share all of that.
Oh, good people. So first and foremost, Siju, I would just like, if you want to have a visual, to have some form of a visual representation of this, you really need to just take yourself to the middle of, like, let's just say, take yourself to the middle of a hill. And in the hill, there's just this beautiful patch of a beautiful football ground surrounded by pineapple plantation, and trees and everywhere and all those things, and this small mini stadium is there. Every time you start a match, every time I go into the ground, that's the first thing that happens. The moment I see that, it's just breathtaking. And we were so blessed, like, the monsoons in Shillong is really bad, right? Like in Meghalaya, we have like one of the heaviest rainfall, and it's still raining as we speak. But whenever I go there, we were so blessed during that whole tournament. We had one of the beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrise. The day was warm. So, everything was just green and smelling fresh. The moment we walk in, you see these farmers, like, they're so, they're just so happy to be there. They don't care, like, they're not, like, how usually in a competition, you're very, the players are all nervous. These guys just knew that they were there to have fun. So they're all sitting there, and the moment you're entering, these guys like hi, hi, like like, oh, we're so excited. You can still see a pinch of nervousness on them, and then you walk back, and then you tell. But the best part is that you have to tell them minute by minute what you have to do, change to your jerseys, and all these things. But what we really wanted to do, what we did was that we wanted them to have that tournament feel where they walk together in line, following the referees as the anthem was being played. We had we had a theme song, by the way, which was made by Somersault, a specific theme song. So you walked in with the theme song being played. They touched the trophy as you saw how the trophy was, and then they went there and stood in line. And the best thing is that all the friends and families. We usually kept the matches during the mornings and evenings, and not during the afternoons, not to disturb the family, the farmers from their activities. So especially in the evenings, it's jam packed with the friends and families all coming to cheering them on, right? And then you have all of them, like, and we don't have proper seating, so they're sitting, like, in one two staircase, and they're standing there and they're just looking out there. And these farmers walk in with the referees. We actually got proper referees. They walk in with the referees, and then they just stood there in line, raise up their hand, the usual thing, and everyone's clapping for them. Turn back front, and then they go in for the photo shoot, like, the team photo shoot, like how we would do it proper teams. And then then they come back to the dressing, and then they come back in, and they sit on the benches, and then they're getting ready. The best part is that you should see the managers. The managers are farmers themselves. All right. And it's so much fun that for them, it's only about, like, you can't give up. Just keep running. Just keep running. The manager's shouting at them, chase the ball, chase the ball. And everyone's just running around and chasing the ball. And tactics, even if there was not being explained like a professional way, but these guys were understood football to that level that they actually played good football. Then halftime comes in, where they come back in, and immediately when the moment at halftime, uh, we would have our drinks and all that stuff. These guys are ready to play again. Yeah, they're just having, like, they brought their own tiffin boxes, they brought their bananas, they brought all these things. They're munching on that, and then they go back in and play the second half. And then at the end of the game, they just, like, whoever wins or lose, they just shake hands, and then they all gather around, like, oh, you're from Garo Hills, you're from Repoy, oh, you're from this, and then they're just talking straight after the match, and they're just having fun, and then they just go sit down, and then they just relax, cool, have a drink or two, and have a drink of water, and then they're done. The best part is when the exchange of seeds happen, right? So when the exchange of seeds happen at the start, they don't know. They get the pouches, which is exchanged in pouches, and these gunny pouches, gunny bag pouches. Once that exchange has happened, nobody knows what's inside them. After the matches, they open them. After every matches, when they're done sitting down, they open these pouches and then they see, the seeds that are there. Then they rush over to the other team and they'll ask them like, what seeds are this? How do I do that? What are you planting? So then you just see like, a whole a variety of of activities, which is, you see the football thing happening, you see them walking in and out, which we see in every matches. But at the same time, you see these things, these small little things that which is so beautiful that, you know, that they do outside the field. They don't shout at each other. They don't get angry with each other. They know that they're just here to just have fun. But at the same time, they give it their all. And the best part about these guys is that I feel like we make them play like 35 minutes match, thinking like, because obviously they don't have like, they don't have proper practice. But no, yeah, these guys like are just, they just keep on running. They want to play more and more. So yeah, so that's how it was the experience for me. Every single day, I have to travel about an hour and a half to get to the venue every day. But every time I get there, I'm just like, wow, this is this is it. Like this is so good. Like I'm happy, and I come back home, I'm like ready for the next day. So yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, that definitely, at least the way you started with and all of those, that definitely gave, I'm sure, to all the listeners a beautiful visual treat, all the way the audio visual treat, I would say.
Yeah.
Rather, visuals is something you can imagine, but we gave you something in audio for you to take you there.
I hope maybe in the next one we could go live. The only problem of going live, Facebook live at these places is the connectivity issues, right? So maybe hopefully, but we're trying to do it again. If we do it again, then I hope we can find network there and I'll go live and then I'll make sure I inform you, Siju, and just you see the setting is just beautiful, man. And you see the way these guys play
Yeah,
is
or
just
else,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, we've done a trip to Kerala as HOF, so I'm not, I won't be, I'll be more than happy to do that in Shillong and, do
Yeah,
that from
yeah,
there, out there,
definitely.
and show our viewers and listeners. But yeah, finally, to close this, what do you see the future like for this? The long run, do you want to expand this to different states in the Northeast? Do you want to bring in more communities? Because one thing I'm taking away from this, not just the football aspect, but farmers coming together and also exchanging their ideas regarding farming, that also educates the other farmers, and that's a very
Exactly.
beautiful thing.
Exactly.
So what do you foresee for this particular project in the long run?
So that's what I've discussed with my friends, right? But I don't know how far. But for me, for my own project, is that I know that we had discussed this with the team that we want to start something called the Farmers World Development uh, Initiative. It's an initiative to develop the Farmers World, riding on the Farmers World Cup success. We would take this forward by first and foremost structuring this whole thing, getting as many understanding where all the farmers need our help other than just football. And also, like you said earlier, which you mentioned, which was spot on, like the age categories, we would love to be more age specific on this, trying to identify and also have a clearer vision of what we want to do for the older farmers and what we want to do for the younger generation of farmers. So that is definitely there, structuring this whole thing. Then yes, the moment we've structured this whole thing, we definitely will be scaling up to different society, different communities. We just don't want to do with Farmers World Cup, not just for football, but we want to do like a farmers. We did just recently a farmers music night where the farmers played their music, their traditional and what they play when they're waiting in the fields. Then, but the football bit is we definitely want to make it into an inter-district first in Meghalaya, then definitely expand into Nagaland and have an inter, like the Champions League of just the farmers, like all the champions will come together and play after playing at their level. So that is something which we have discussed, which we are hoping will come to fruition. But yeah, it's going to be a long way because taking a farmer off from his field just for a day to play football also is a big thing because that's their life. That's we have to compensate that for something by making sure that this they do benefit from this at some way or the other. So there's a lot of planning that's already happening. We have been discussing on a legacy plan, definitely, and I will be most definitely updating with you, Siju, on any updates in regards to the Farmers World Cup. But we definitely want to expand to other states, especially in the Northeast, and broadcasting this.
Yes, right, absolutely. I mean, YouTube should be probably, would be the best place, or definitely, I mean, if you find a local broadcaster also, I'm sure it would be a great thing for them as well, for everyone, all of us to watch, because all eyes of Indian football fans are always around the Northeast, whatever happens for football, right? So we always see the Mizo Premier League doing so well, we see the Meghalaya Football League, the amateur leagues doing so well. So yeah, I hope that we get to see more of this as well. And what a beautiful way to connect the two worlds, the world of farming and football, and benefiting from both the sides. So thank you so much, Arki, for taking time. I know it's been a busy schedule for you, but thank you for finally making this and coming on and sharing all the insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Siju, for having me. Thank you so much. It was lovely. And if there's any more further updates from this Farmer World Cup, definitely I'll give it up to you. Thank you for covering this, however.
No,
I was thinking
absolutely.
there's to be so many football things to be discussed, but I'm so happy that you actually covered just this. The vision is there now. So definitely. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
yeah,
once again.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's about the show is called the Totally Indian Football, and this is very much part of that. So, how could I not do it? So, Arki, thank you so much once again, and all the very best, and stay blessed. And to all the wishes, best wishes for your team out there. I hope this goes on for a very long time, and much more investors come in and invest into this. Thank you once again.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Siju. Thank you.
Thanks to all our listeners for showering your love. I hope this was yet another. I mean, it has been an interesting couple of episodes in the past. I think from the episode number one, it has been that way. And I hope you enjoyed this one also, just the way you enjoyed the others. If you've liked this, please do share. And please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Yes, we are not sure if we are the best, but we are trying to be one of the best podcasts out there. So please do follow and subscribe to us. It's a Totally Indian Football Show, and I was your host, Siju. Thank you so much.